Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is our regular MLB pitching preview show. We do it with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, where he gives picks like giving Texas against Clayton Kershaw as a huge underdog that wins. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Do you pick every plus 250 underdog in baseball, or is that just a special case?
No. In fact, if you read the analysis, it was really a pick on Texas more so than it was against Clayton Kershaw. They have been unconscious as a big underdog this year. In fact, in the case, if you were going to ask me, have I picked Texas as a big underdog all year? In most cases, yes, and they have been tremendous as a big underdog. But we always, that's one thing, if you've never gotten my picks before, we give you in the analysis why you should be betting your hard-earned money, so you'll know why.
All right, well, Texas is right now officially the #1 team in the ROI standings in baseball, and particularly on the road, so can certainly see why you recommended that at your site. I want to ask you about Charlie Morton, right? He continues to hum. The question is, how long will this last? We know, look, Morton can have a great start, can have a great run, but we know this guy is not a lights-out pitcher all season long. High volatility for sinker ballers, and I looked at it in his career. He's been notably worse in the daytime in his career, and you know, this is a day game. We know that Washington can have a productive lineup. I'm thinking maybe this is a time to maybe try to time a bad start by Morton. What do you think? He's been great so far.
Yeah, he's been a pretty decent pitcher ever since Pittsburgh turned it around a couple years ago, but again, as you said, he's not a spectacular pitcher. In addition to any day-night splits, he's also struggled in 6 starts against the Nationals. He's got a 4.70 ERA, so I don't think I'm going to be backing Pittsburgh at this point. And if I do back them, it's going to be because of some team stuff, but I will not be backing Charlie Morton per se. That much you can bet your sweet bippy on.
Right. I just have a feeling this will be a down start for him for sure. Well, not for sure, but maybe. And then Scott Copeland. This is an interesting guy, right? He had a great start. Then his second start was much worse. Now he's going to be at home against Baltimore and Chris Tillman on the other side. We know the deal with Tillman just having a very, very down year, vulnerable every time out, and we know the deal with Toronto's lineup, right? They usually are better against lefties, but they're very dangerous against any pitcher as vulnerable as Tillman. Is it possible that Copeland comes back and has another great start, and Tillman gets hit hard, and Toronto maybe is a good bet on the run line as they were recently against the Mets at home?
I think at this point you've got to expect that at least one of these pitchers is going to get knocked around, and very possibly both. You know, when a guy in his first start has a pretty good outing and then he gets lit up in his second, and when he doesn't have any resume that says he can rebound, I think both of these pitchers are going to get hit hard. Obviously, it's going to be a high total, so it's just a matter of saying, you know, do we want to bet the over on the high total? Because as a general rule of thumb, high totals do go under, and that's even been more true in recent years, but I do expect a lot of runs.
And then Tim Lincecum, right? He starts on the road against Brett Anderson, and we know that Lincecum, hasn't been doing so well recently. We also know that he has home road splits that heavily favor him at home. Looking to go against him on the road. Is Lincecum going to struggle again? Probably. If he does, Brett Anderson starting for the Dodgers, he's generally pretty reliable. Do we think that there's a big starting pitching edge here for the Dodgers?
I know that I had said in a video, I think that we did maybe for Friday, that as a general rule of thumb, I really pay attention to those home road splits when a pitcher is much better at home than on the road when it's a young pitcher. Clearly, that's not the case with Lincecum. But as I said, ever since Lincecum kind of lost from being knocked off the pedestal as one of the premier pitchers in baseball, he's just been ridiculously streaky, and maybe the streakiness is due to home road. So I would actually consider those home road splits pretty significant, because he has been so streaky over the last several years, and he's got an ERA of 4.88, and that's in 31 and a third innings pitch away from AT&T Park. So at this point, I would say that he will likely continue to struggle.
And then more home road split stuff. J.A. Happ, right? A big, stark discrepancy between his performance on the road and at home. He's been great at home. At here against Houston, do we expect another top outing for him? And then a highly touted youngster, Vincent Velasquez. In his first start, he went 5 shutout innings. Second start, 5 innings where he struggled. We know that Seattle is a pitcher-friendly park. Do we expect a strong start from both these guys?
Well, in the case of J.A. Happ, you are correct. He does have some very prominent home road splits, 1.88 ERA and 6 outings at home. But there hasn't been a big drop-off, but overall, After a very solid start, he hasn't been terrible, but he seems to be dropping off just a little bit. So I'm probably going to avoid that because the home road splits say to go with Happ, but the fact that he seems to be slowly dropping off says to maybe fade him. So no, I don't know if I could really bet an under because at this point, J.A. Happ, despite his home road splits, I think that he's continuing to tail off.
Joe Duffy's website is offshoreinsiders.com. That's all I wanted to make sure we got to from Sunday, June 21st. What else would you like to draw to our attention, Joe Duffy?
Think about the only thing we didn't cover as far as my notes. Trevor Bauer for Cleveland has been very quietly, extremely consistent over his last 7 starts, 2.51 ERA. So most definitely at least a big check mark in his column.
Okay, thanks so much, Joe. Talk to you again very soon.